Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we're ending out the Christmas week by talking the return of the old world and the big reveals that dropped on Boxing Day. We've got plenty of our usual 40k lore discussions coming next week, some Mechanicum and Cadia, and even some Black Templars. But I couldn't not talk some old world today, as I am really looking forward to its return. So without further ado, let's waste no time and just jump straight in. As usual, all the information is over on the Warhammer community website, so if you've missed it, head over there to check it out for yourself, as I am going to do right now. Now, there's been plenty of reveals over the past year or so of what's coming for the old world, in particular my beloved Bretonnians. However, on Boxing Day, we got the launch reveal. I'm sure all of us have been debating and discussing what kind of launch box we were going to get, and it certainly felt like it was going to be a Bretonnians vs Tomb King set for me. Or at least that's what I was hoping for. Most likely going to split it with my mate Swan, me taking the Bretonnians, him the Tomb Kings. However, while yes, I was right in thinking it would launch with Bretonnians and Tomb Kings, boy was there a bit of a surprise on Boxing Day. No launch box set as such, or at least no single launch box sets like we're used to. Instead, there will be two separate launch army boxes, one for Tomb Kings and one for Bretonnia. And these are absolutely massive, very visually impressive. In reading the description here, it states each army box comes with a 1250 point army, the 352 page hardback rulebook, a 4-page reference sheet, 20 d6 dice, 1 6-sided scatter dice, 3 weapon templates, 2 measuring sticks and transfer sheets. Basically everything you need to get going right out the box. Now, if you're an old school fan, you can tell immediately here that it's the same troop models as before, but with a new character sculpt model for each force. The Tomb Kings have 93 miniatures, the awesome looking new dragon, which can be built as the Lich Priest with Tomb King on foot, or just the Tomb King on the dragon, which is definitely how I would go. And then 40 skeleton warriors, 32 archers, 16 horsemen and 3 chariots. There's always the caveat when we're talking on reveals here, as I don't know the price they're going to be. And honestly for this, I've got no idea what kind of price point they are going to drop at. However, man, I absolutely love the fact that we can just get a full-on fighting force army right out the box. I'll admit I was always more of a Vlad von Carstein vampire counts guy back in the day than Tomb Kings, but Total Warhammer 2 did absolutely make me fall in love with Cetra. The soundtrack when you play a Tomb King campaign is absolutely fantastic, really nailing the feel. Kinda gives you those Mummy Returns kind of vibes. Definitely something I can imagine cranking out while playing a battle with them to set the feel. Now, I'm hoping there's going to be tons of stock of these launch sets, or even made to order if they do sell out, like they did with Indomitus, I think it was. The box set I missed out on anyway, but thankfully they did the made to order after. But of course, the one I'm really hoping to get my hands on is Bretonnia, for the lady. Baron Rohak or Dukela Rohak shall be crusading in your fair name once again soon. Now, I'm not a fan of the colour scheme here. I always used to like the classic blue and cream combo for Bretonnia. Older fans will probably remember the one I'm talking about, or even go real old school and do all the knights in their own patterns. Proper old school Bretonnia, bringing back that King Arthur style. But what a great starting force this is too. We've got the brand new Lord on Pegasus, 12 Bretonnian knights, 36 men-at-arms, 24 archers, 3 Pegasus knights and your transfers. I have to say, look how well that Lord blends in with the Force as well. Maybe because it's a bit more visually imposing for the Tomb Kings that the dragon kind of stands out. But the Lord with the Bretonnians here, absolutely perfect. If you didn't know this was a new sculpt, you could easily think that that was a model from back in the day like the rest of the Force. You definitely have to give hats off to the sculptors here for that. When you see the picture of them on their own in their reveals, they look so detailed you wonder how well they're going to fit in with the older stuff. However, here in this big army shot, you can see absolutely bang on. Perfect. Really, really nice. It's definitely making me even more excited for the old world to be back again. I didn't end up going for a battle force over Christmas in the end, as I knew the old world was coming early on in the new year, and I definitely knew I was 100% going to try and get that. So fingers crossed here I can get a hold of this one. I'm sure they'll do the queuing system as usual for big releases or something to make sure everyone gets a hold of one if they want one. However, that's not all that was revealed. The rulebook on its own will be available. Probably the go-to for all of you who kept hold of your old models, which unfortunately I didn't do. And yes, I'm kicking myself for that now. There's the Forces of Fantasy and Ravening Horde tomes that will be available too. Now, these are the good and evil aligned books for the factions, which it states each army gets an introduction, a gallery of miniatures, a grand army composition list, a complete set of unit profiles, so you'll have no need for a separate army book to play, special rules, magic items and unique spells. So essentially these are the books that will get you playing with whatever faction you want to straight away. And then we get the arcane journals for Bretonnia and Tomb Kings. Softback books for each faction that expand it all out with history, heraldry, maps, special characters, including a certain undead emperor. I'm assuming we mean Cetra there, but you say undead emperor, my mind automatically goes to 40k. Magic items, spells, a historical scenario, and thematic armies of infamy, which let you select armies of very different compositions. Arcane Journal Kingdoms of Bretonnia has rules for armies of Bretonnian exiles and errantry crusades, while Arcane Journal Tomb Kings of Khemri provides the Nehikaran royal host and the mortuary cults. It is important to know that you don't require an Arcane Journal to play your chosen faction. All the units and army rules are contained in Ravening Hordes or Forces of Fantasy, but they do provide a trove of extra options and extra depth for discerning generals. Okay, so basically codexes, but ones you don't strictly need to get gaming if you don't want to. And we haven't seen softback ones in a while either. Now that takes you back quite a way. The artwork on the front of these absolutely deserves a shout out, especially that Bretonnia one, the damsel leading the way. But finally we also got a couple of model reveals for the Tomb Kings of Khemri too. Nekaf, Emissary of Cetra. Pretty nice looking fella. The scarabs coming up the parchment there. The mouth open as he's booming out the titles or proclamations. I'm liking the paint job on the mummified decaying skin. Definitely bringing it to life. Let's see what it says in the description. Cetra the Imperishable has accumulated a truly prodigious number of epitaphs and achievements over the long centuries of his unlife. And this seemingly endless list of titles and victories is recounted in full by his loyal servant Nekaf before each battle. Luckily, animated skeletons are very patient. Armed with the enchanted flail of conquered kings, Nekaf, Emissary of Cetra, pulverizes those who refuse to kneel before his immortal liege. Okay, so he's basically reading out all the titles and victories of Cetra. I like that. We got a standard bearer. I'm a little surprised this guy's not a full-on skeleton in my first reaction. He's got the skeleton hands and arms, but his face and torso have still got that mummified aspect of skin. Let's see what this one says. Royal heralds are the personal champions of Nehikaran royalty, mighty combatants in life who retain their strength in undeath, despite their withered forms. The greatest of these champions often bear banners featuring the personal heraldry of their master. Okay, so yeah, they retain a little more strength in undeath. This one's nice. I like the fact the hieroglyphs are sculpted onto the banner, so you can just paint it and not have to worry about transfers or freehanding. And then we've got the Tomb Swarm to finish it out. Now this feels really old school. I'm not sure if it's the sculpting or the paint job on these ones, but they immediately feel old school Warhammer fantasy to me. I imagine these are either going to be really tricky to paint or really easy with a contrast or wash. I'm a terrible painter unfortunately, so everything's tricky for me, but these are nice, I like them. I'm definitely more of a Bretonnia guy right now, until we get some drops for the other factions at least. The other one I'm really looking forward to is the Dwarfs. I have a special place in my heart for the grumpy dwarven holds, so it would be absolutely fantastic if we get more of these core army box sets for the other factions down the line, though of course without the rulebook and all the other pieces. On top of all these, a full range of classic Khemri miniatures will be returning to bolster the forces featured in this article, with much more to come in the future. The Bretonnians and Tomb Kings are just the first 2 of 9 factions arriving in the world of legend. The rules for the other 7 will be available at launch in Forces of Fantasy and Ravening Hordes, and look out for miniature releases for the other 7 in due course. Don't worry if you're more a follower of Hachette or Interpreter of the Great Plan. Legacy Army List PDFs for the other 7 factions from Warhammer Fantasy Battles will be available shortly after launch. Okay, so rules for all the factions that aren't going to be supported in the new release of the Old World are going to be coming available after launch. So off the top of my head, we're kind of talking the Dark Elves, Lizardmen, those kind of ones. I'll tell you what, I am a little tempted to get some of those new Seraphon updates for Lizardmen. Recreate that old Bretonnian v Lizardmen box set scenario. That's the iconic one from my childhood that stands out. Depends on what the scale difference is these days, I guess. I can imagine the Seraphon look absolutely gigantic next to the old school fantasy models. However, yep, all in all, I'm excited for this. I'm really happy the Old World is coming back. Even if I don't have all my old models anymore, which is a huge pain in the you-know-what, but hey, at least it's coming back. I'm very much liking these new army box sets, and I'm pretty interested to dive into the lore as well, to be honest. See just what's going on in this earlier time period, the new characters out there across the world. But all in all, that's it for today everyone. I hope you had a good Christmas, and what did you think of this Old World reveal? Are you excited like me? Happy or not? Are you a Tomb King guy or a Bretonnia guy? Or are you waiting on the other factions? And who would you like to see one of these army boxes for? As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.